Welcome back to an RPG Architect tutorial. Today's Patreon request is from Jory Vesper, who wanted to make a workable shop in RPGA. So with that said, let's get started. All right, so a little caveat to this video is this is going to be a very simple basic shop, and it's also only going to show how to buy. I'm still learning the engine myself, and the devs are working on a 2.5D sample project, which is going to have a full shop loop on it. So the more information we get, then more content will be able to come out for it. But as of right now, I spent like a week or two just trying to learn how to buy from a shop. And so I'm just going to take this knowledge, give it out there, know that it's not probably the preferred way to go about it, but it will get us started. All right, so here we are in my project, and we have a NPC that I'm going to make a shopkeeper right here. But first, the first thing that we need to do is we need to set up a shop. And so to do that, we go to F8 database. So in order to make that shop, we're going to go down to user interface right here. And you can see that we have a couple different things from, our title menu, but we're just going to skip one just to have a space here. And I'm going to call this one the shop. And specifically, it's an item shop. And we're going to come down here and change the user interface into a shop. Then we're going to have some more options change right here. And then real simply, what we're going to do is at the very beginning of the shop, you're going to select to buy or sell. Then from there, you're going to select which item to buy or which item to sell. And so the first item that we're going to add is we're going to add a list, because this is going to be our buy or sell list, the one that pops up initially. Buy or sell list. All right, we'll just leave it there for now. The next thing that we want to do is we want to be able to see our money, our current money. So we're going to add a text here, and we're going to just call this current money. And in the text here, there's a text tag to show your current money, and it's these brackets. I'm not sure exactly what they're called. And then you put a money sign in there. And then I'm going to put a money sign on the outside, and that's going to give us what our money actually is. I'm also going to change this. Let's see how big this needs. 48, that looks good. And then I'm just going to move it over here so it shows up on this top left kind of corner here. And just move it down just a hair. All right, so there's our money. It's all set up nice. Now the other thing to do, since we're thinking about money, is go down here to our general settings, or nope, it's on a new game. Here we go, new game. And we'll just put in some money. So I'll give myself 500 bucks to start with. And we could actually test that this works right now. And actually, we might want to give it some items. Not sure if this will make the engine crash. So I'm going to give it 15 items. We're going to have item 1. We'll just call this item 1. And item 2. And real quick, I'm just going to give it a cost. This is how much it's going to cost in the shop. There we go. And you can also give it an icon, which is really nice. And when you select an icon image, then all you got to do is just scroll up here and the icon will show up on the right-hand side here. So now that we've added the 2 items, let's go test our shop. We're going to go into our NPC, and we're going to right-click and say Shop, Open Shop. And this is going to give us everything. Now you can set your sell modifier, your buy modifier, stuff like this. We're going to select the shop UI that we just created. And now we're going to start adding. So this first one is a category. So right here would be the category if you wanted to name it. And then underneath the category are your actual items. So we're going to just plop 2 of these on here. They're type items. And then the first one is going to be item 1. The next one is going to be item 2. You can override the cost if you want to. And so if we press OK and play test this, it should bring up that simple shop UI that we created. And right there we go. So you can see our money over here on the side. Now you would obviously want to beautify this, but this is just going to be a quick bare bone situation for a menu. All right, so now that we got that, let's set up more of the shop. Go down here to user interface and select our shop. All right, so let's set up the buy or sell list here. And so we're going to go down here. We're going to select a sprite for the cursor. I'm just going to use Windows. Or sorry, I'm going to use the selector. Hit this one. This just makes it to where it wraps the whole frame. I'm going to hit OK. And now we're going to start giving this buy or sell list items. If you want a more detailed explanation of this, my title screen tutorial goes over how these lists work. But basically, we're just going to give some stuff like this one will be buy, and this one will be, guessed it, sell. And we're going to increase the font here. Go down here and increase it by like 48 or something like this. And then I want a little bit more spacing. So one quick method I found is to just add a space and buy. And there we go. Now I will move this out. I'll make this be kind of like the middle of the screen here. And then we'll just move it down. Kind of like that. All right, and the cursor we need to set to where it wants to point. So the type of the cursor, it's a point left. And then we just want to make sure that our offsets are correct. I'm going to offset it down a little bit and offset it like that. And I'll just offset it a little more like this. So now this cursor will be bouncing back and forth like this. And so let's see here. Anything else that I need to set? Just give this a test and make sure that we're on the right track. All right, so there we go. Now again, you'd have a panel, make this a little easier to look, but this makes sense. Now let's make this do something when we click buy. So F8 again, we're going to go back to here, and we're going to add a new element this time. It's going to be called a templated list. Now this is going to keep basically the info of the items and stuff like this that are in that shop list. And so we're going to name this, we're going to say this is the buy shop list. And we're going to come to template type, and we're going to say that it's a shop. And then we're going to use a custom context here, and we're going to use one called items. And when you start typing in items, you're going to see that there are some things that pop up automatically. So here's the categories, and then here's the items. We're going to go to items right here. Now continuing on, we want to also have a cursor for this one. So we're going to select that same selector, click that, hit OK. And I want it to be a type left as well on this. And everything else should be okay for right now. We're definitely going to have to come back to this setting. But for right now, the important thing is that we need to start setting up the items, how they look. And so to do that, you have to click on this item component. Now, this is very easy to forget, but just remember, if you're trying to find the items in your buy and sell lists, they're under item component. And so then we're going to add an element right here, and we're just going to add a text. And this is going to be the name of item or items, because you only need one of these and it will show all the names of the item. All right. And we're going to come here and change the font size. And we're also going to use the templated, and we're going to use the template of the name of the item. So you can see the name is kind of going like this right now. It's kind of split into 4. And so we can start changing this here in a second, but just know that the name, you can see some other stuff that pops up here, but the name is what we want to display of the item in this column. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come back to here, and this is how we're going to start setting up the item position. So you can see that we have item, or oops, not that one, up here, item details. And so I'm going to start to scale the height in, and you're going to see more names coming up on this list. You can see that this is the pattern that it's going to follow for the names, stuff like this. So I'll give it just a little less. Let's go 12 is good. And now, as you can imagine, I'm going to bring in the width so that the width is only showing one name length. I'm not sure. Oh, I have to extend it. My bad. So I have to expand it so that I'm only showing one name. There we go. Okay. And now what's left is to position this actual thing. And so we're going to go to here, relative X, and move it out here. Now I'm just going to have this list replace where the buy sell list is. So I am going to overlap it, and we'll just start it from where the buy name and sell is. So go like this. All right. And then the last thing that we got to do is we got to offset our cursor sprite. Yeah, quick fix here. Match it with, yeah, that looks good right there. All right, so now let's just test this and let's just see what it looks like. It's gonna look a little interesting, but let's just see what happens. So we're gonna click on this, and you can already see that it's showing item 2 and item 1 and item 2. Now, obviously, it's overlapping everything, but you can see that it's showing the item name. So if we go to F8, just to prove that this is working here, we can go to item 1, and now we can name this something like the red potion. And in this one, we can name, I don't know, the blue tonic. All right, and if we go back to play this, you can see that it says red potion, blue tonic. So the names are actually adjusting accordingly. But here's the deal. It's showing at the same time that the buy sell is. Everything's just a mess right now. So let's clean this part up. So real quick, just to start, we can go back to our shop and we can load when we can use a when the script is loaded. So this is going to be a script that's done as soon as the menu is basically loaded. So we're going to come up here and we're going to click and go to user interface, and we're going to say toggle user interface element visibility. And we're going to select the buy shop list, and we're going to just leave it unchecked. That means it's going to be off. It says it right there. It's off. Click it, it says on. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hide the buy shop list. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our buy or sell list where we're picking buy or sell. We're going to go down and we're going to go on focused. And here's where we're going to manage what this particular item does. I kind of figured that this would be a really good way to make sure that each item takes care of itself. And so when it's focused, we're going to go to toggle user interface. We're going to select this one, and we're going to say that it is on. So when it's focused, it's on. And I closed that one, my bad. And so then I'm going to go to here and click copy, go to focused, or go to unfocused. So when it's not focused, then we're going to turn this visibility off. I did it again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing on the buy shop list. So we're going to go down here, and there is a focused and an unfocused. Now there's an item focused and an item unfocused as well. We want to make sure that we're doing it in the actual focus, because the focus and unfocused is the actual element itself. We're going to go to user interface, toggle. We're going to select itself, toggle it on when we're here. Copy this one, paste it, and toggle it off when we are unfocused. All right, so now let's test this. And we should have a much cleaner UI as far as the shop goes. We have the buy or sell. We click buy, and we don't go anywhere. And that is something I forgot. So let's close this. Let's go to our F8 here. You can see that that there's a lot of little details to pay attention to. Right, so to change this, we actually want to go to the elements inside here, the items inside here. And when we click on the buy, we want to go down here. And so execute, again, execute is when you press the OK, the confirmation button. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to refresh our buy list. So we're going to refresh the buy list, because you might have items that change eventually. This tutorial doesn't go into stuff like that, but you might have it, so it might be a good idea. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to push focus onto the buy shop list, right? And so, whoops, I'm in the mouse there. Okay, there we go. So it's going to go push focus to the buy shop list. And so what's going to happen is now the focus is going to go to here, and then these are automatically set up to hide each other or hide themselves if it's focused or unfocused. So the fact that we have this, it should work now. So we'll be able to click buy. We'll go to the items select. So if I click buy, you can see we go to the item select, and you can see that automatically I can just scroll down these items. So that's really nice. All right, so now let's add some more to this item. Let's add like how much the item costs, for instance. All right, so we can go to the buy shop list this time. And again, we need to click on item components. We're going to add another item component, and this is going to be another text, and we're going to call this the cost of items, or items item cost. Sure. And I'm going to give it the same font size. Now we're going to say use template, but we're going to type in something here. We're going to type in unit currency cost. Now, if you ever, because this doesn't pop up automatically, and I got this from the devs themselves. And so if you ever have any questions, just drop on the Discord and they'll be able to help you out as far as like text tags go, until like their wiki is more established and stuff like this. And so you can see that it's popped up there, it's right there, but the problem is it's kind of overlapping our item. And so we want to make sure that we have some spacing here. So we're going to scroll down to position, relative X, I'm going to move it out here. And I'm going to add some more space, because one thing that this doesn't do is it doesn't show money sign like this one did. Like when we clicked on here and we put in a money sign and then we put in the text tag to show the money, we can't do that on this. So what we actually have to do is we have to make, again, we have to click on item component, and then we have to add another text. And this is actually just going to be the money sign. And we can just put right here, money sign 48. And all that we got to do is make sure that we move it just like that. All right. Now that we have this a little more spaced differently, I want to even it out more in the center. So I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to, that's the item details. So we want the position. I'm going to position it just a little more like this. So it's, a little more even in the screen here. And so with that, let's try that. And let's see if that worked, showing how much it costs. All right, there we go. I just need a little bit more spacing because I forgot that the names are longer than just item 1. So that's a quick fix here. We can go to current or the buy list and click on this. Now the name of the item, there we go. And then we just want to space this a little more. As you can tell, this will be a little bit more playing around than the item cost. And I'll leave it like that, and that's the most that we'll update that position, unless it needs it. All right, so let's go test this, and there's just a few more things I want to test, so we'll just go, they do that, so we go to buy, and then we have the red potion, that's how much the potion is, that's how much the blue tonic is. Right now, when we click on something, nothing happens. If we hit escape, it goes back to the buy cell. So that's another reason that is really nice, to just have each component kind of self-maintain itself with these focus and unfocused. It makes it really nice. So now let's go, what happens if you buy something? So let's go to the component. And actually, no, we're going to go down here to execute. So this is going to be when something is pressed. And what we need is to get basically where the item is on the selector. So is it on item 1 or item 2? And then we need to translate that to a bought item. Right, so the first thing to understand here, and this is where it gets kind of tricky and it gets really important, is we need to first save the unique ID that this list is on. So for instance, if you are on the red potion, that has a unique ID according to this shop list. And so the first thing that we need to do is save the unique ID to a variable. Now, I don't want it to be global. You could have it global, I guess. I just want it to be local. Local means that it's only ran in this menu right here, just to bounce information around as you're in it. And so I'm going to create a new variable, and I'm just going to call this the buy ID. We're going to hit OK. And then the next thing that we want to do, now again, this is where I detour from the method that is intended. Okay, this is where I detour a little bit, but I feel like it's easy and it's simple to get something up and running. So we're going to go to the shop, and then we're going to adjust the shop quantity. Now you need to basically give it a quantity on how much of this to buy. And so of this shop item here, we're going to say that we want to add 1. Now this is adding, just so you know, this is adding. So if we keep on pressing enter, it's going to keep adding. So the first one will buy 1. The next time we press it, we're going to buy 2, etc., etc. So we're going to buy 1. And then what we're going to do is on shop, we're going to buy a shop item. And we're going to buy the buy ID. Right? So hopefully that made sense. We basically stored what ID the item's on, the cursor, what item it's on. Then we're going to say we want to buy one of those items by increasing it by 1, because at the very beginning it's 0. And then we're going to go down here and we're going to say to actually buy the item. Here, let me just minimize these. Then we're going to actually buy the item. And this is going to basically apply all the money and the item into your inventory. Now, we're not going to have a way to test this because I don't have an inventory set up, but we will be able to test it based off the money that is either going down or going up. So we're going to end up buying this local variable, which is the unique ID of the item that we're buying, okay? And then the way that I'm doing it, again, this is where I detour, is that we don't want this to cumulatively keep adding, because every time I press enter, it's going to keep going up. So what we want to do is make sure that we're resetting it. We want to adjust the shop item, this item again, and make sure that I clicked local here. I did. Okay, cool. So we want to adjust this local buy ID, and we want to do it by -1 this time. So that way we're adding 1, we're buying it, and then we're going back to 0 quantity, okay? And so we can do this with every item. Again, this is where I detour. And then you would add your sound effect or something like this. Audio, you could add your sound effect. You could add a message that said you bought this. And then we'll say, okay. And let's just play test this, make sure this works, so we can actually confirm it. There's no real debug method yet, as far as like knowing if you have the item without having like UI set up for it. But you can see right there, we just bought a red potion and my money's going down, and it's only going down 10 at a time, meaning that it's resetting the quantity. Now we can go to the blue tonic, and there we go. And that's working as well. So yeah, simple and effective way to get a buy shop up and running. I feel like even though it's not the traditional method, it still might be a method someone may want to use. Maybe they're making more retro JRPG, and that would be, I don't know, perfectly fine. If you have any questions, comments below, Steam forums will get you figured out. With that said, I'll see you at the next video.